The college football playoffs are inching their way closer.
Welcome.
We are getting week by week just all the way through the college football season.
Oh, yeah.
It feels like it's just flying by. So
Approaching
I want to.
2 of 6 for college football playoff rankings.
What was that?
Approaching 2 of 6 of college football.
Yeah, the
playoff
college
rankings.
football playoff rankings come out tonight, so we don't know yet what the new rankings look like, but we have a good idea of the teams that are going to be right on the cusp. So I want to go through some of these teams and just hear what we all think as to if they're going to make the playoffs or not. I think the logical place to start here is Miami. We watched Miami, blow. They lost to Georgia Tech, right?
Called
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Yep.
you did
Oh,
call
yeah.
it. You're a
That was
big
easy.
Georgia Tech guy, though.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're a big
Well, I was also anti-Miami being a good team guy.
and
That's
Georgia
true.
Tech guy.
Yeah,
So it
Georgia
was, it was
Tech
a
guy.
double whammy. You had the spread. You said they might win outright.
Yeah.
They did. So I guess I'll start with you, Mario. With one loss, I mean, they're likely to make the ACC championship. If they drop another game or if SMU loses, then Clemson slides in. So that's the only real route for Clemson to make the ACC championship. But as it sits right now, it'll be Miami, SMU if they both win out.
Yep.
Do you think this Miami team makes the college football playoffs? With obviously if they win out and then win the championship, then they're in. But if they lose in the championship, does a 2-loss Miami even have a shot either?
No, I don't think a 2-loss Miami team has a shot. I don't think they're winning the ACC championship. I think SMU is a much better team. But I also think Miami could drop another game before the ACC championship. So
I would love that.
They played Syracuse last game of the season.
I know.
At Syracuse.
In Syracuse.
Syracuse.
McLaren McCall.
Yeah,
McLaren
they
McCord
had-
also becomes Ford Pinto McCord. When
These games don't mean anything anymore.
Yeah,
He's just playing the
but
ball.
he has no pressure.
Yeah.
He has nothing to lose.
throwing
Miami
for
has everything.
350
trying to
game.
get that draft stock up a little bit.
Yeah, maybe that's right.
Mike, what do you think about Miami?
Maybe that's right. In my opinion, I think Miami is more of a lock to get in. Actually, no. I was gonna say they're more of a lock than SMU, but that's obviously just not true because SMU is undefeated in conference play, and so, that doesn't make sense logically. But I honestly just don't really think that they're on the fringe because I see them winning out. And so if they win out, they go into a championship.
But
And
they'd have to win
regardless-
that game,
But
too.
they have to win that.
But I disagree. I think win or lose,
So you
they're
think a
still going
2-loss
to
Miami team still gets in?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was the
No
question.
chance.
Yeah.
Zero chance. Like literally 1,000% zero chance.
Why do you say that?
They are ranked 12 right now in the AP poll, which means people are pretty
Barely
much
in.
just saying you choose your fate. If you win out, you're in. If you lose out, thank you. We just get to put you out and we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And there's no chance. They're going to be ranked in the college football bowl at probably at the same position.
Yeah.
Literally 11, 12. There's no chance of 2 losses. I mean, you've seen them all year. They've
Yeah.
done absolutely nothing. They barely beat crappy teams. Finally, they got a team that didn't choke it at the
Yeah.
end. The one team out of the 5 teams.
I think in my opinion, the reason why I could see them putting in a 2-loss Miami team is especially if they were to get that second loss in their conference championship, then we've seen with the first CFP ranking that was out, they value losses or they value good losses really, really heavy. And I think, if you lose in a championship game,
You think they don't
I-
move down at all?
I don't think they move down significantly.
But they're at 12.
Yeah, but again, if they win out so that they make it into a championship game, then they're probably going to be moving up back into that 7 spot. And then they lose that, they move down to like the
They don't-
9.
I don't, they
then,
don't get, they
you
wouldn't.
know.
I don't think they get inside the top 10 before the championship game. I think it's almost impossible. If the college football playoff poll has them at 12.
Unless
Yeah.
I mean,
some
if-
miracle,
I mean,
every
you
team
have
loses.
to have a bunch of
and-
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's,
Notre Dame, okay.
I think there's almost no chance Miami makes the college football playoffs. The more I look at it, I thought they would win against Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
so,
they needed to.
Yeah, and I really think this loss is brutal for them because, obviously if they win the conference, they're good. So they need a bit. They have home game against Wake Forest. They have a bye this week, home game against Wake Forest next week, the week after, and then at Syracuse last week of the season. I think they lose one of those 2 games, but even if they don't, I think there's a decent chance SMU loses the game because I'm not really sold on any of the teams. I think it's kind of a crapshoot, and I don't think Clemson's very good, but we have a really, really good track record when we make the ACC championship of winning it.
Yeah.
And I don't think our conference games the rest of the season are that difficult. Obviously, we play Pitt this week. It's a big game. We'll talk about that on Thursday. But I think if we get in the conference championship, we'll make it. So I don't, this Miami loss was really nice as a Clemson fan because
Yeah.
this kind of just opens the door.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no way a 2-loss Miami gets in. 0% chance. There's a
Okay.
lot of 2-loss SEC teams right there. All their losses will be better than all of Miami's losses.
So then you think at that point they're literally playing in one ACC
And
team
one Big
that's
12
it?
team.
100%.
one ACC, one Big 12.
Like if Indiana has one loss and it's to Ohio State, they get over Miami.
And
Without
then
a
they
doubt.
put in a second non-conference team in Notre Dame.
Well,
Notre
I
Dame's
think
already.
Notre
they
Dame's-
don't really count.
Notre Dame's going to be in.
Yeah, Notre Dame's in.
Notre Dame's
Okay.
going to be in no matter what.
Okay.
And then they're going to have, they have 4 of the top 5 in the AP poll, I believe, are Big Ten,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think all 4 of those
Yeah.
teams are in, no matter what happens with losses or whatever. So 4 in the Big Ten, ACC Big 12 is 6, non-power 4 is 7, Notre Dame is 8, and then you have 4 SEC teams. Is I think the way the 2 in the conference championship, and then they'll put in like a Bama or whoever else. But that's kind of what I wanted to get to is
Okay.
when you look at the SEC right now, the SEC standings are A&M and Tennessee with 1 conference loss, Texas, Georgia, Ole Miss, Alabama, and Missouri with 2, and LSU with 2 conference losses. Which of those teams do you think has an actual shot to make the college football playoff out of the 2-loss teams?
So we're looking at Georgia, Ole Miss, and Bama. Pretty
And
much.
Missouri and LSU.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clearly Georgia. I mean, just given off name, which shouldn't be how that's graded, but I think it carries a lot of weight with these ranking systems. And I think, honestly, purely off name basis, if it comes down to pretty much the exact same list as you just spelled out, I think they would just throw Georgia in there for sure.
I don't even think
I
off
don't-
name value. I think just their wins. I mean, going into Texas.
But then
beating
if you-
Texas is like a very.
And they go in, and
Yeah,
they have
but you lose
Tennessee
to
this week.
They
as
have
Bama.
a Tennessee this week, and so it's like, I mean, they've had by far the hardest schedule in college football.
We said
Sure.
it preseason too.
Sure.
Their schedule is insane.
So-
throughout
it's
the
ridiculous.
season.
So I mean, yeah, I think Georgia gets in. I like Ole Miss.
Ole Miss is almost a lock. The way
You
they're
think?
ranked,
The way they're ranked,
they're gonna win out.
Well, we don't
100%.
know where they're ranked in the college football playoff
I'm saying,
rankings.
it would be hard. Well, I think they were on the cuff.
They were 16, I thought.
Yeah,
last
so
week,
I'm
right?
saying like they just beat a Georgia team that was how insanely high. They're
Yeah.
4th, one of the SEC champions.
I think they're right on that fringe.
There's no way that if they're in, they're in. Like
And
if they're
I-
ranked 12 or 11 this week, there's no way they're winning out.
Yeah,
They can't do anything about the
I think
championship.
I think Georgia. I mean, it's contingent on Georgia going and beating Tennessee,
Yeah.
which I think will happen. So, then you have Tennessee into the mix with the 2-loss, SEC teams. I just like,
That's where it gets weird for me though when I think about it. So say Tennessee loses to Georgia, right?
yeah,
Tennessee has 2 losses. Georgia beat Tennessee. Georgia has 2 losses. Georgia has a decent shot at making the SEC championship actually. A&M will probably be out if they lose to Texas. If they beat Texas, they're in the SEC championship. And then all of a sudden, Texas has 2 losses. And then you have Bama with also 2 losses. I don't know if Ole Miss is going ahead of a lot of those teams. I think they're probably better than them. There's just, when you look at this list, there's almost too many SEC teams in the mix when there's really 4 spots.
Yeah.
Like we laid it out, there are 4 spots. They're not putting in a 2-loss Ole Miss above Notre Dame. It's not going to happen.
no.
It's just not. So, like, out of these teams, if you could pick 4 SEC teams right now, I guess, who would be the 4 you'd pick to make the playoffs?
Texas, Georgia, Ole Miss.
Bama. Yeah, I mean it just makes logical sense. If you think Georgia's going to beat Tennessee this week,
Yeah.
that's just the way you have to go.
Do you
Yeah.
feel the same way?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, Ole Miss is the one I'm hung up on. I don't know about Ole Miss. I'll be really interested to see where they put Tennessee, because if Tennessee plays a really good game against Georgia, and they still have 2 losses,
Then Tennessee might get in.
it'll be interesting to
Yeah.
see where their rankings fall, because Ole Miss doesn't have a really hard. I mean, the rest of their games are both cakewalks.
Yeah.
They play, I think, Florida. Yeah, I have a bye, then Florida and Mississippi State. So they have a cakewalk, and Tennessee's not had an easy schedule either.
No.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see. And last one I want to talk about is what Big 12 team do we think is going to make it? Do you think Colorado has a legitimate shot at making the college football playoffs, or is this BYU team kind of just walk into the finish line here?
I like the way Colorado's playing football a little bit better, and I think going forward, it's all about how you're. I think in this part of the or stage of the season, it's like how your team's kind of heating up versus a BYU team that's kind of been at the top and they're
Yeah.
kind of hanging on. So I would like a Colorado getting over like getting in over BYU team. I think they'd just be a little bit more competitive.
Yeah, I mean the Iowa State collapse in that conference needs to be studied.
That was
That
crazy.
was
That is
back-to-back
Shout out
insane.
Kansas.
Shout out
back-to-back
Kansas.
losses. They are now have 2 losses. I mean, Colorado fully controls their own destiny,
Yeah.
which is crazy to think. With only a couple weeks left, Deion Sanders and Shador can actually just win out and be locked in.
Speaking
That-
of
that's so electric.
Speaking
so
of, USC had a 4-star quarterback crystal ball flip to Colorado. That was announced
sharp.
earlier Monday.
Interesting.
So that things are looking.
You know
great
when-
for
I mean,
Colorado.
when Deion goes to Florida State, that dude's leaving.
Oh,
Yeah, I
mean,
do think he takes that job.
I
at FSU.
cannot wait
for
for
sure.
him to leave and then tank that entire fucking program.
Which
And
one?
then I'm gonna hate on
Colorado?
whatever.
Do you hate Deion?
Why
or
would
do
you hate Colorado after Dion leaves?
Well,
You hate Shador and
No, I
Colorado
hate-
was never anything.
No, they're like the byproduct I hate of a real bad thing that I hate
I mean,
also.
I don't think this gets talked about enough, and I know you have something to say about Colorado. You've been excited to talk about Colorado all week, but it is really crazy the turnaround he did on this team.
No, they're really good.
Like the fact that they won 1 game the year before he came,
They're really good.
then they won I think it was 4 or 5 last year,
last year.
and now they're 7-2, standalone second in the conference with a chance to win out and make the playoffs. Is one of the quickest turnarounds for a team I think we've ever seen in the history of college football. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
I agree.
Go ahead, Mike.
I was just gonna say I agree, but I agree with Mario as well, where I don't really see them meeting the caliber that BYU has kind of been playing at because
what?
I
It's not at all what I said.
Mario said Colorado.
well, you said it's a team that's heating up versus a team that's kind of been playing well.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I think, BYU has been playing at a level that, has been good enough to carry them to an undefeated season. Although they had a really sketchy game last week.
That's what I'm saying. They're
They're
hanging
very,
on.
very, very, very
They're
sketchy.
hanging on it.
You're right.
Colorado's heating up at the right time of the season.
Yeah, they're heating up. But again, I don't think they're like if we're talking Kelvin, right? So if if BYU's at like 34-degree Kelvin,
Which is when, just give me a rough Celsius.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't. That's irrelevant.
No, let's go
Take a
Fahrenheit.
guess.
No, sorry. Let's go
Irrelevant. Nope, irrelevant.
Fahrenheit. You don't even know what's 1 Kelvin.
34 Kelvin. All right.
Well,
and then
what is 1 Kelvin?
doesn't matter.
So you're just saying.
Wait, 34 Kelvin. Gotcha. I see.
34 Kelvin.
Go ahead.
It's really hot. It's really,
Yeah.
really
Negative
hot.
398 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, really hot in the opposite way.
So really hot.
Well, if you touch it, you would get
all
burned.
right.
Okay, come on. Just
Anyways, yeah, I think BYU is playing at a level that is good enough to get them into an undefeated season as to where they're at now.
Below freezing.
And I think Colorado, although they deserve their flowers and they are an unbelievable program for the rebuild and the turnaround that they've done, they're not going to be good enough to overtake this team, and they're not going to be the team that's going to get
So we
it.
don't agree at all.
So he agrees completely with you.
yeah.
Well, we agree and then we
Go
disagree.
ahead. Go ahead, Ryan.
This is going to be an electric finish. I think that every team, the top 4 teams in the Big 12 are going to lose a game before the conference
Colorado
championship.
plays Utah.
So Colorado plays Utah. They also have to play Oklahoma State. They also have to play one other weirdly tough game, and so does
Yeah. What's Colorado's schedule?
they
I
play
got you.
Utah in Kansas and then against Oklahoma State, which Kansas is getting hot. I'm not lying. Kansas has been a really good team. They almost upset Kansas
Kansas.
State 2 weeks ago. Kansas State plays Iowa State, which I think will be a huge game at the end of the year. Somehow, one of those teams I feel like are going to make the playoffs. I feel like Colorado is going to drop a game just because of
Hey.
I don't know. I have a weird feeling they're going to drop a game. But if they don't drop a game, I mean,
I would love it.
You got to pick the best player in football and fucking ride him against BYU,
Yeah.
Travis Hunter. Come
I
on
think
now.
The one thing about BYU that kind of sketches me out is how many close games they have.
Oh, yeah.
Which is all the time. I mean, they're undefeated, so you're saying, they're they're such a different caliber. Colorado's had more blowout wins than BYU have
You're right.
in their conference. And so when you look at BYU's schedule, their best win by far, is against SMU. Their SMU's only loss was in SMU early in the season. That's definitely their best win. If you look at their recent matchups, they won at Baylor by 6. Then they beat Arizona pretty handily. Then they won by 3 against Oklahoma State, and they won by 13 against UCF in a little sketchy game towards the end there. So I don't know. This BYU team is an interesting one. I think Colorado makes it. I think they get it in.
I mean, ESPN would.
I just see Colorado
Yeah,
as
split
Miami.
field day.
Miami and Colorado is
Field day.
exactly what I say. Yeah, maybe their quarterback can save the day.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he's sketchy.
I
But
agree.
Colorado,
with
but Colorado's
that.
in
I
a
agree
much
with
worse
that.
conference.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
They are, dude. There's no Georgia Tech in that conference is one of the better teams.
Yeah.
Like the Big 12 are terrible. They're so bad.
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. I just had to think about it a little bit. But
No,
I'll agree.
the
I'll give it a
ACC is really bad at the top, but like the middle of the road ACC teams are low key decent.
Yeah, like the
Like,
floor is higher than
The Virginias, Virginia Techs, Georgia Techs, the teams that no one like ever thinks are decent or good.
The
No.
teams that everyone looks over.
They just hang in.
everyone looks over.
They just hang in the mix. They just stay there. But yeah, I think Colorado will be a really fun one to follow as we keep getting closer.
My only thing is Army. Does Army win out, beat Notre Dame?
Army's.
What do you do? What do you do?
What's Army's
Oh, I
schedule?
mean, what
I
do you do?
I mean,
Like, what do you do?
Skip to my loose, slide.
What do you mean? What do you do? If they beat Notre Dame, they just take Notre Dame's spot.
Well,
Actually, low key.
That's all it
I
is.
guess that
That's
makes
all it
sense.
is.
they would just
Alright.
switch,
Yeah, just a little.
No, you get Boise and Army in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think I actually.
or you get Notre Dame and Boise in the playoffs. Is what you're saying.
If Notre Dame loses,
No, well, he's saying either way, you're gonna get
You're getting
two
two
non-conference.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's either Boise State and
unless Notre Dame,
or
unless
Boise
Notre
State
Dame
and-
drops one earlier or like later. I mean, again, because I believe they play SC to end the season, which is no Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Let me. I'll
Oh,
double
they
check.
do. No, they do.
Army schedule. They
Big
play.
rivalry game.
They play
Big rivalry.
Notre Dame, then UTSA, then Navy. So
Ooh.
who knows
I
at
mean,
the
a
end
little
of that?
Navy action.
Hey,
Notre Dame-
midshipman.
Notre Dame
They're
has
terrible.
Virginia, Army, and USC.
Ooh,
So there's a decent
last
shot.
two games.
That's
Dude,
tough.
even I'm not even joking. Even this
Virginia.
week is like a little weird, sneaky one. Virginia's been upsetting teams and losing when they're favorites, like the entire season. Who did Virginia beat last week?
Pitt. They just demolished.
Yeah,
Pitt.
they beat the crap out of Pitt. Yeah, so and Pitt was ranked like 17 or 18.
No,
So
nothing make the world a better place than Army beating Notre Dame and Notre Dame.
I agree.
Yeah.
I
just
agree
make it
completely.
I mean, you
Make
hate
the world
Notre
go
Dame.
round.
I mean, they don't deserve. Don't give me. This isn't Notre Dame show.
Yeah,
That's another time.
not-
Jesus
no.
Christ.
I mean, Ole Miss would win by 30.
Every team
conversation.
will by 40.
Yeah, that's probably true. But yeah, there you have it. Let us know in the comments what you think about the teams that are on the fringe. It's obviously the most exciting part. When the playoffs were 4 teams, we were all talking about who the best 4 teams are. No one cares who the best 4 teams
Yeah,
are.
it's just
anymore.
get in.
It's great, especially because if you win your conference, you're in. So like, it's so electric for Colorado. No one cares that they have 2 losses. Doesn't matter.
It doesn't mean
They
shit.
went out. You're in no matter what.
Yeah.
Which is the best thing about these playoffs.
That
But
was
then
electric.
when you get those other 7 teams, all of a sudden we're back to, instead of talking about who the top 4 are, like who's the 3 to 6, we're talking about 9 to 15, and it's
It's just so fun. We finally get the answers we've been asking for years. When these shitty programs do really well,
We know
and
the
finally have to face the Georgia, Ole Misses, Bama's, Ohio States.
No, I mean, we're gonna
like
know.
when
Who's asking those questions?
When it's
Colorado plays
Texas,
Georgia,
yeah, Colorado,
Colorado
Georgia.
plays Texas. This will be the
Oh
biggest show in the
my
history of
God.
DJ.
I would-
fucking-
Holy shit! I would buy a horse. I would
what?
buy a horse and I would ride into the episode on a horse.
Wow.
Mark
know
it
if a
down.
horse-
Mark it down. No,
Mark
I want
it
it in the
down.
There's
episode.
no way a horse fits in the studio.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll make it fit.
We'll go outside. We'll do an
Mike's horse
offsite.
fits.
We'll do an offsite podcast session.
We're not
Let's
gonna do
it.
that.
Colorado versus Texas. I'm in.
We will do that.
We'll
But,
fly-
but that means you have to wear a Shador jersey on the
Yeah.
while riding in.
Yeah.
You do.
'Cause the bet.
You do.
Nope,
If
you're
Col-
right. No, good call.
Oh, yeah.
Nope,
That's
on-
actually
No. Not if we get by and we win, and then the first game that they're in the playoffs. So if we win the SEC, we get a bye, and then Colorado's first game in would be to be in the like 5
They would.
spot.
They would
or
also
whatever.
get a bye, buddy. Whoa.
Damn it! All right, you're right.
Respect the table.
Yeah, fuck.
Respect the table, Mike. Respect the
I
table.
can't wait for Shador.
All right, there you have it. Let us know
Oh, yeah.
who we're missing,
Mike's
who we didn't
excited.
talk
He
about on the
sees it.
fringe. Yeah, Mike sees it. Mike's freaking out over there. Let us know in the comments what you thought. Drop a subscribe if you're not. You guys are absolutely blowing up the channel. We love it. Almost at 1.4K subscribers. Maybe we're there by the time this video comes out. Who knows? Maybe not. If
Oh,
we're
we
not
will.
there, click that button. Even if we are, double
Leave a
click
comment.
anyways. Share with a friend. Let
Watch
us know what
emoji.
you think.
Yep.
Yeah, and
For Shador.
we're posting
Nope.
content pretty much every day for the rest of the year. So lock in with us.
Lock it.
Lock in, baby.
Let's go Buffs.
Off a cliff.